and the flowers, and we're going to hear a little bit about that in a few minutes from the farmers.
We have jewelry, gift shops, all sorts of businesses from
so now we're able to take it from the phone call that we've been having, which is several hundred businesses, and then we're going to use this platform over the next few weeks to make sure that we communicate this message to the thousands of the customers out there that our small businesses have built that goodwill with. And I know that if they have the, if they get the right instructions, they get the right information, they're going to support our small businesses. So thank you to all of you, and we'll get you back here on Tuesday. We'll get another update. Thank you so much. Yep. Great. Those guys are great. And I just want to tell you, they're volunteering their time. Usually at this segment of our call, I share my cell phone number. So there's businesses out there or people that are wanting to help the small business out and they have some ideas, they can call our office at 222-2371, or you can call me directly at my cell phone, 401-465-6204. I always get a couple calls after these broadcasts and the conference calls. We want to hear from you because, as Matt Weldon said earlier, we want to make sure that we're providing as much information as we possibly can, so that we can deal with this, this health crisis that we're in, so that we can reopen our businesses in a way that the economy works and establishes communities that we all can afford to live in. And that's been my goal ever since I've been in public office. Great schools, good public safety, good finances in the local governments, and an economy that can support our families. And that's what we're talking about here today. Ben, I'm not sure whether Mark Hayward has been able to figure out,
Absolutely. So Mark is on, and I also just want to let everybody know in the comments, if you have questions, the Lieutenant Governor's team is doing their best to answer your questions that you would be asking right now. So I know that Cheyenne is doing a wonderful job in the comments right now. And here we go with Mark.
Hi, Governor. How you doing?
Oh, Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, it's been a heck of a day.
I bet it has. And again, I want to tell everybody that's listening on our call, we're going to be moving to this call combination simultaneously with our call and this virtual platform, so that we can get this message out as we're starting to try to reopen strategies to as many people as we possibly can to support these small businesses. And for those who don't know Mark, he's a champion for our small businesses. He's been at this for a long time, and he doesn't have that much left to go, I understand. But nope. He's definitely being tested right now to make sure that we get this economy going. And Mark has been giving us an update on the SBA programs. And Mark, thank you so much for being here again today. This is very, very important for our small businesses. I don't know if you heard earlier, but one of our businesses that Lori, that's on that Gift It Forward program, she did get a PPP. I heard that loan that got activated for her. And Tim McKee, who was on our show about 2 weeks ago, he was able to get some of that emergency funding from the EIDL. So it's happening. Give us a little update of what's happening in Rhode Island and what we should know, on a broader sense nationally.
Have not been able to get into the system today, so I don't really know what the numbers are today. I can tell you that just from talking to the banks, they're continuing to input into the system a tremendous amount of PPP loans, and we encourage people to use them. We understand that there's not full guidance as to what forgiveness looks like, but I think people should be using them on a regular basis. Bring your employees back. At a minimum of 75% must be used for employee salaries and wage and benefits. And then 25% can be used for other business expenses, which are outlined in the loan authorizations. I continue to encourage people to bring their people back. It was good to see Matt. I did see Matt Weldon on before. In fact, I just sent to Matt an article, or actually a decision of the Vermont Department of Labor and Training, where they too said if you're called back by your employer to work, even though there is no work, you need to go back on the payroll. And by not going back on the payroll, you're jeopardizing your ability to collect unemployment. So I think that's a critical element, particularly because we're so dependent, Governor, on hospitality industry, where people want to bring their families, their employees back on the payroll. And it's been a little bit difficult. And I can understand that. We continue to answer as many questions as possible. We don't have all of the answers, not having all of the guidance yet, but I'm hoping that in the very near future, we will have that. As far as EIDL goes, EIDL advance loans continue to come out. They will pop into people's accounts. We actually asked, can there be a mechanism? We asked Disaster, can't you just send people an email? And they told us no. I don't know why. But that's more than likely you'll see it show up in your account and you wouldn't even know that it's in the account. On the regular EIDLs, as of this morning, there were 218 EIDL loans processed here in Rhode Island for $32.4 million. So they continually are processed as well, Governor. And it's been a long day already. What time is it? It's only 12:30. It's been a long day.
We're about halfway through this call, and hopefully you can stay on it. Just a couple quick,
Sure.
Again, some of this is repetitive, but people who applied originally for that EIDL or the disaster relief funds, and they never really got into the queue, they need to reapply again, right? They're not in there.
The portal is not open. The portal remains closed. I do not know when and if it actually will reopen. We encouraged individuals who began with the number 2 to reapply, and this goes back to March 24th when we stood up the new platform. So as of right now, the platform is not open, so the portal's not open. So I can't give that answer. Hopefully in the next session, we'll have better information.
Guidance on which you say is still kind of being developed, but I was reading where loans that are over $2 million, they can expect to get audited, right? I think that's what I read this week. And has there been any other guidance in terms of the forgiveness, say for the loans that are more in the small business category that we're dealing with in the $100,000-$300,000 range, that type of thing? Is there any more guidance on that people should know about, or that should just follow the rules as they currently know them?
No, frequently I've said on this session as well as others, we're building the plane as we fly it. And when you build the plane as you fly it, you don't have all of the information. We do not have all of the information as to what forgiveness will look like. We would recommend to individuals just to stay tuned, to do exactly what is said, to spend it on your employees and on other expenses. Keep good records, document well. On the issue of the being audited for $2 million or more, I think, and I said this to a number of people this morning, my concern is that people are, yes, Secretary Mnuchin did say that. Yes, there was a frequently asked question update that came out that was put on the Treasury website. But I think too many people are relying on the news stories to dictate policy. And while they may have an audit, I mean, I can't tell you if they're going to have an audit or not. But here's the issue. I would suggest that they keep good records. If they felt that they got the PPP in good faith, then there's not an issue. An audit is not going to, people are not going to come in and say, well, you shouldn't have gotten it if you can demonstrate. And I'll give you an example. I had a small business who actually is a publicly traded company call me, and they were getting somewhere a little bit over $3 million. They said, what do we do based upon the answer to question 31? And I said, well, let me ask you this. How many employees do you have? And the individual said, I have 240 employees. I said, if you did not get the $3 million in the PPP, what would happen? He said, basically, we would be out of business and I would have to lay all the employees off. So the bottom line is it's justified. I asked if he had an endowment anywhere or if he had any additional money on the balance sheet. And he said, no. Says while we're a publicly traded company, we maintain certain levels, but we have nowhere near what is needed in order to sustain the employment. In my opinion, that's justified. The problem is I had a second call of an individual who had $24 million on the balance sheet. And I said, well, I don't think that that's probably justified, because so you got to weigh all of this. And I would implore people to not to speculate, but to do what's right. And that's the bottom line. I also had some lenders call me, say, our customers are very concerned because they certified that they needed it, but they run a liquor store, but they're still open. So my response to that was, well, were they impacted? They said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, and we're talking about a $35,000 PPP loan. I said, well, here's how I would look at this. Can 40 people go into that liquor store right now as it could before? I said, no. Well, then I would say that they're impacted just by virtue of the fact that you're limited in the amount of people that can go into the store. It doesn't mean that they're at the same level of sales, even though they're selling. So, Governor, I really do think that people should be realistic in how they treat all of this. I've been preaching this all day. I've been beat up a little bit today, I have to tell you. But I'm just be realistic and keep good records.
That's the best advice, Mark, is to keep good records and understanding that, like you said, these smaller businesses are being impacted just by the overall economy in general. I don't care if they're still open or not.
I agree.
They're being impacted. With stay-at-home orders, that and executive orders, that means a lot less people are out there, doing business with our businesses. So I think over the next 8 weeks, because of the timeliness of a lot of the, now we're going into this next phase of reopening that's we're focusing on here. You're going to get a lot of questions on that issue because people are going to want to make sure that they're following the rules, but they're taking full advantage of the forgiveness, to make sure that they don't have a 2-year note, even though it's at 1%. A 2-year note could be problematic potentially for some of these businesses. So they got to follow the rules, keep good records. That's good.
I agree.
If
Thank
you
you,
can
Governor.
stick around here, that'd be great.
I will. Yes.
From the farmers, and then we got a couple of creative businesses we're going to spend the last 15 minutes on about how we were asked by DBR, Department of Business Regulation, on our last call for businesses out there to put in writing what a good plan is in terms of safely reopening their businesses, and we're going to spend the last half of this show this broadcast on that. And again, anybody that's listening on the phone right now, I understand it's a little bit difficult to hear. Go to our Facebook. We'll try to transition everybody to this platform so that you can kind of see us at the same time as hear us. And the intention here is to get it outside of our network of several hundred businesses. But now we want to be talking to many, many thousands of people about reopening strategies to make sure that those people who do business that we do business with know what's going on. So I think that we have Heidi and Tyler. Ben, are they with us? Heidi and Tyler? Wonderful. Tyler Young. Wonderful. Good to see you again, Tyler. We've been on this show together before. You gave me a call yesterday, and we want to make sure that get an update on what's going on and whether you got what you needed or whether you need more at this point in time to make sure that we sell all the make sure everything gets sold that you need to sell and service the customers that want to be serviced. So give us a quick update since we last talked. We tried to help you open up greenhouses. We anticipated something was going to happen April 27th, which was Monday. You gave me a call yesterday and said that that things still need to be a little bit better than they are right now. So give me an overview as a business owner representing a lot of these growers that are in our state and very important to our economy, by the way. Tyler.
Well, thank you for having me, Lieutenant Governor. I know Heidi's on the phone from our organization, Rhode Island Farm Bureau, and they've done a tremendous amount of work to try to get this solved. With also RINLA, I'd like to give a lot of credit for. There's been a lot of work at DEM trying to solve this issue. I know there's been some new rules that have come out lately. I know they are not really allowing some of our greenhouse retail operations to open the greenhouses, except for open sides. And maybe Heidi might want to see if that's any change since then. But it's difficult for us to abide by all those openings and closings because all these greenhouses are so different. Everyone's got a different structure. And does that mean, you open a side roll-up side on a sunny day and then you close it on a rainy day and then people aren't allowed inside? Some have garage door openings. Does that mean that we're allowed to use that as the opening? So I don't know, maybe Heidi can, elaborate more on that when she converses. So there's a lot of concern, a lot of misunderstanding out there. And so growers are saying, which way do I turn? Now I know I've talked to a few other growers in Mass, and they are letting the state is letting them open up. They've got the safe space distance. That's a big thing that everybody's abiding by. They're asking people to wear masks to go into their operations. They limit the amount of people in greenhouses. The fellow I talked to today said they're allowed 8 people in a 96 by 30-foot structure. They limit the amount of people coming to the cash register. They have their plastic face shield in front of the cash register. And a lot of it's left up to the growers, Lieutenant Governor. So they've given a lot of control to the operators. A lot of common sense needs to be allowed and given to us to keep everybody safe. I know one of these fellows I talked to, he said he says put a sign up and he said pick with your eyes and not your hands. Something the grower did. So he's being innovative and trying to teach folks not to be touching everything, which is important. That was voluntary. Another big thing that has happened in Mass too is the state has asked some of their local board of health people to come in and basically say, listen, check out our retail operators and just give them advice to see if they're doing a good job. And this one fellow from Arujo Farms in Dighton has been given a lot of compliments from that board of health person. So he's doing a good job, and they're taking a lot of our. He said I'm getting a lot of East Bay people from our state going to their operation. So
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? So Tyler, let me ask you this though, Tyler, because the question that again, your issue is not just important to the greenhouses or the farm growers, the growers. It's important as we enter this reopening strategy that we start listening to the businesses, because we do want to have the safety and the health as the top priority, but also we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to create the economy. So not following what Massachusetts has done to allow people that you just described under certain numbers that could go into a greenhouse based on square footage or whatever. We're really disadvantaging our growers right now. We're disadvantaging our nurseries, right? Our garden shops, and in a way that they may not recover from because of all the product that they got in inventory that they're ready to do the Mother's Day. So Mother's Day is important to these garden centers, right?
Oh yeah, and this other grower said to me, he said, I might be out of product by the 15th of April or May here because there's such a demand going into his shop. And so, that's all lost business to Rhode Island growers, and we don't want to see that happen.
So the message to us, and again, we have good relationships with DLT and DBR and that type of thing, but the purpose of these calls is to really let the small businesses have a say in terms of what safe is, and make sure that we're listening in terms of how, of other states. Massachusetts is doing stuff. Michigan's doing some things right now. It's a very conservative state with the governor there on reopening. They're doing things that we're not doing. We shouldn't be fiddling and diddling around with technicalities and trying to make it, perfect when good, very good is good enough in a lot of ways. So look, safety is important, but you're outlining ways that your competitors are operating within a stone's throw in many ways, like you say, on the East Bay going to Massachusetts. We want to keep our businesses here. We want to keep, the people who do business with you, who are happy to do business with you, and the growers. So my feeling is that we need to be strong as small business people right now. I think that everything will get balanced, but if we don't really put the input you just put in, Tyler, in terms of let's get it right. Let's get it right for Mother's Day, and understand that if we get it right for the greenhouses and the farmers and that type of thing, we'll get it right for the other industries and businesses out there. So thank you for your leadership. We'll catch Heidi the next time. Unfortunately, she was on earlier, but must have had a disconnect. And I really thank you for your leadership on this, Tyler. Very important that we can, we should be cheering for you, and you should be cheering for the restaurants, and the restaurants should be cheering for the gyms. And we need to find creative ways to make sure that we reopen the economy and make sure that we're safe. So Tyler, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Ben, can we bring on Gary Reese by any chance? I think we have Gary. I think we have maybe Christine and maybe Richard Sardello, I think, potentially. So if Gary's there, could we bring Gary on? Oh,
Or-
there you are, Gary. Nice. Ben, could you run that little tape before I start talking to Gary about a creative strategy? Gary, we're going to run that tape you sent me that Gags did for you today on the way that you can take a ball out of a cup. If Ben could cue that up, if he could do that, that would be great, because this is an illustration of why we need to talk to our businesses, why we need to be public on these things, because they're thinking about ways to safely do it. So run that tape, please. I don't think we had the audio, so Gary, show us what we're going to see. Tell us what we're
basically we came up with a device so that no one ever has to touch the pin. You see the ball going in the hole, the member taking the club, lifting that little lever, and the ball comes out. We'll have little signs plus training and videos for our members. We're taking this virus very serious, and we don't want anyone to get sick. I believe we have the ability to open a safe and responsible business, and I also believe we need the opportunity to do that. I don't know how much longer we can sustain what we're going through at this point. We don't qualify for PPP loans because we're a 501c7 nonprofit, so it's been a real strain on us.
Yeah, Gary, and so we had you were on the call, and again, I'm going to say that we're kind of going to this virtual. We wouldn't have seen that little mechanism that you developed with Billy at the at your business, lifting the ball out if we were on the phone call. So we're going to start communicating this way and get to a far larger audience than the several hundred businesses that we've been talking to on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that we can start delivering that message. But one of the things that happened on the call on Tuesday, which I think was very positive, was that the assistant director at Department of Business Regulation mentioned there was a way that businesses could provide written plans, safely open their business. And you put together one at your club,
We did
your country club. So why don't you I wanted to just spend maybe 2 minutes, because we got about 15 minutes left, and I want to get to the other businesses that have the yoga studio that has put together a written plan. This is very important that the businesses understand that they just can't be talking about it. They need to be actively doing it. And you've done that by putting a little plan together, a good plan together for golf courses. And you've looked at other golf courses that are around the area and around the country. So just share with, the 5, 10 important points that you're talking about on that written plan with the type of thinking that's going on, Gary.
Well, thanks, Governor, for getting us involved. And my partner, David Rampone, and I have taken this very serious, and we've come up with protocols. The Department of Business Regulation wanted in writing how we were going to move forward and not just words. And I believe that day we came up with a very in-depth business plan, clearly stating how we're able to follow the rules, and we can implement this. I know every business that's desperate is saying that they're going to do this, but we're proving that we can do this through that video, through the Department of Business Regulations, the plan that we implemented. It wasn't an easy task, but I think we covered all the bases. We can't keep remaining all of our businesses closed. Everyone has a cell phone in this country. You can turn someone in if they're not doing things properly. But I think we should be given the chance to do that.
Yeah, tell us a couple of things that you're talking about. You just showed the way that that you can use on the putting greens. You have some other ideas in terms of making sure that social distancing. I introduced you to a friend of mine that's maybe even talking about a divider on the cart.
We've already started ordering them.
And that divider will kind of make a separation between of you, because financially 2 people on the cart is better than 1, right, in terms of our
absolutely business. We need cart revenue to survive. When on a nice day, if we have 80 people walking the golf course, we might take in $700. $700 doesn't get us anywhere. Our greens budget's $1 million a year. And I'd like to just focus on the fact that people think only rich people play golf. Our course is blue collar, hardworking people, retired policemen, firemen that don't have a beach house, that choose to spend their retirement money on playing golf and having some fun and getting out in the air. But we need to open. We need help now. We can't wait. There's the ramifications of this. So many small businesses can't and will disappear.
And Gary, talk a little bit about the fact that, and we're going to final this up because I want to make sure I give everybody else, 4 or 5 minutes to talk about their businesses. But you've done a good job there. But a golf course, whether it's public or private, or whether they're driving range or pro shops that sell the product, or vendors that do business with you in your food establishment, and they're all interrelated. So you're
Absolutely.
shut down. You're not buying as much food. You're not doing as much weddings. You're not having as much music, right? You just give up 30 seconds over that, because it's not just the people playing golf. It's the business aspect of it is very broad.
The wedding industry in the state of Rhode Island is a $70 million a year industry. And when we cancel, or a bride cancels a wedding, we return deposits, and all the people that work to set up that wedding now don't matter. This is florists and disc jockeys and limousine companies, valets. I counted 30 businesses that are linked to a single wedding. So there's 30 businesses that can't survive because one wedding is canceled. If you take 2 weddings a week away from a business, you're taking 30 businesses, all of this money, from chair rentals to chefs to food services to linens. I mean, the list goes on. I could be here all day telling you how many people are hurting.
Well, Gary, I want to thank you for stepping up. Again, just like I told Tyler with the farmer who was on before, he has a farm down in Little Compton, and we need to rally around one another. We're all small businesses. When we had a couple snow days when we were in the health fitness business up in Woonsocket, we lost, a percentage of our monthly revenue and an impact. So I get it. I've walked in all that. We've walked in the same path for many years. And so thank you for your leadership on this. But we need to rally around one another. The farmers need to rally for the restaurant guys and the men and women, and the restaurant guys need to rally for the hairdressers, and on and on and on. That's the purpose of what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to put together the largest group of small businesses ever assembled in the state of Rhode Island, so that our voices are heard loud and clear. And I appreciate the fact that you came forward with your thoughts. And let's see what happens to make sure that we get opened up in a safe way, but make sure we get opened up. Thanks.
I want to thank you, Governor, for giving me and David Rampone the chance to be heard.
You got it. Well, we'll keep it. We're going to keep that. We're going to keep that voice going. We're going to keep that microphone on, Gary. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful. I think Christine might be in, right? Is Christine here, Ben? Because we still got 10 minutes left, and I want to give like 3 or 4 minutes.
Christine is not. Richard is.
Richard is perfect. Bring Richard on. Richard has a lot of good ideas about. Hi, Richard. Hi, Mayor. Mayor, can you hear me? Oops, we're having a little difficulty here.
All right. I do not think he can hear you.
No, I don't think so. Ben.
All right, Mayor, if you go back out completely and come back in, we'll try to do that.
We still got a few minutes left. I don't think there's anybody else in the green room that hasn't been on, right? I mean,
nope. I can bring Mark or Matt back on to answer some
bring
questions.
Mark and Matt on for a couple minutes, and then if the mayor gets in, that'd be great. But I think that we could, if you bring Mark and Matt on, that would be great.
Matt, just unmute yourself, and we can go back and there are some questions I can ask from people in the comments if you want.
Yes, why don't you do that? I think that would be great if you got some comments that are related to the DLT or to the small business. That would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this one was for Mark. Mark, can you talk about what we will need to do after we get these loans, i.e., make a spreadsheet, report to track specific expenses? What will we need to submit?
So on the issue of you need to do 75-25. So on 75%, which is on your salaries and expenses, that would include salary as well as any health insurance or insurance period or anything else, minus any federal taxes or FICA or Social Security, which has to be backed out of that. Some people are using QuickBooks, some people are using some other platforms, but just keep good records. The same on the side of business expenses. Just make sure that, if you're paying rent, that you're keeping receipts, you can pay interest on any loans. You cannot pay the principal. Please understand that. And somebody said to me, well, what does that include? Well, if you're a transportation company and you're paying interest on a fleet of cars or trucks or whatever, they keep the interest, keep the notations on the interest that you're paying. And I think it's pretty straightforward. I know most lenders, based upon what I've been told, that they're ensuring that people set up separate accounts. And when you set up the separate account, it'll give you the certain accounting. If you use a payroll service, make sure that they're keeping good records as well.
Awesome. So we have another question here to Mark Hayward. What happens if you are pivoting your business and can't rehire the people that you furloughed because their roles will be not a part of the organization's future in the next 12 months, but you will be able to fill the new positions that furloughed employees are not qualified for and spend 75%? So if you're transitioning your business because you can't physically do the business that you used to do anymore, so you had to let go of employees, but you have to hire new ones that are qualified for the new jobs.
Right. The answer is yes. I mean, you can bring other people on. Just make sure that the number that if you put 6 people, you employed 6 people and you paid X, you have to, on the forgiveness side, you employed 6 people and you paid X. And I talked to a small business owner this morning who 2 of his individuals quit, did not want to come back, which was fine with him. But I said, you need to make sure that on June 30th, your number is consistent with the number that you had when you filed for your request for the PPP, so that you can be forgiven.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Ben, is there anything else?
Mark, can you speak to applying for PUI? There is still confusion out there. That might
That's
mean
probably for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
yes,
for you, Matt.
that makes
I'm
more
happy
sense.
when Mark answers, but I'll take over. If you need to apply for PUA, that is the unemployment program that was set up by the federal government for folks that are self-employed or 1099s or gig economy workers. They can go to dlt.ri.gov. Right on the main landing page on the left-hand side, shortly down from the top, there is a box that's white box with blue highlighted text that says, are you a gig economy worker? You click on that box, that takes you to the new application, submit it. I happen to know someone that submitted one earlier this week and it was approved midweek. So it's moving even faster than it did in the beginning. We worked out some of the bugs and I think it's going well. So go ahead, go there and apply for those benefits.
Great. Ben, would Christine be in the back room right now?
She is not at the moment.
Okay.
So
what
we're
gonna do, Ben,
trying to get her back on. Richard is
That's
back
okay.
though.
We can continue this for a couple more minutes until 1 o'clock. I know we have some questions. I don't know if Richard, we can hear Richard or not right now. The mayor.
Yep.
Can we hear the mayor?
Could you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you, Mayor.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, Matt and
Leave
Mark.
everybody on the screen.
Oh, sweet. All right. I'm just
That'd
going to
be
get
great.
off myself.
Yeah, Richard, Mayor, thank you for being on. We've been sharing some of our thoughts about reopening safely. You have some thoughts on that. I wanted you to re-express that. And we've gone to this virtual platform now so that we can start talking to a broader group of people, not just a couple hundred businesses that have been on our calls. We do apologize for the transmission. I understand that the telephone call was not as clear as it has been in the past. We'll figure that out because we'll do a simultaneous. But we got about 3 or 4 minutes, Mayor. Just give us your overview. I know that Mark is a big supporter and so is Matt. So give us your overview and give us your version of a safe opening. So because we need to make sure we get the businesses' voice heard here. Otherwise, you're going to get what you're going to get.
Oh, thank you, Governor. First of all, I want to thank you, Matt and Mark, for the outstanding work you all are doing to help small businesses in Rhode Island. I think we have to be very careful with the reopening. I don't really see if Governor Raimondo says restaurants could open for indoor seating, but the capacity level is going to be at 25%. It's really tough to make ends meet when you're at 25%. So I think my own business, one of them in Briglio's Pizzeria, is opening this evening for the first time for takeout only. Again, I'd like to, I've said it before on your broadcast that I think it's very important that the state and our local municipalities give us some guidelines as to how we can expand our outdoor seating once the warm weather really sets in. Could we have, could takeout people sit at a table on an outdoor patio as long as that table is 6 feet apart from the other table and there's no more than 5 people at that table? I know you were speaking earlier about the wedding business. Newport is real, and the state of Rhode Island as a whole is really going to take a hit this summer, and especially if by mid-June or July, the new rules are no more than 50 people at a gathering when you've already booked a wedding for 150 people. That's difficult, and I really feel bad for all those folks that are trying to get on with their lives to start a new life with a new mate. But I think if we have more clarity as to, I know I've spoken to a couple of our local officials, and they're very, very supportive of our city manager's been very supportive of some of my suggestions of expanding our outdoor seating area as long as we meet those social distancing guidelines. And I think from my own point of view and my businesses, if the governor, Raimondo, said green light on June 1st, you could open up the inside of the restaurant, we're going to take it baby steps. We really have to give this a lot of thought. What we don't want to do is, we've been looking at the state of Georgia, and they've opened restaurants, and those restaurants are empty. Very few people are going to want to go to a restaurant and be served by a waiter or a waitress that has a mask and gloves on. It's going to be a very difficult situation. So
Yeah,
I
so
think
you had mentioned, yeah, let me just interrupt here quickly because we're going to
Sure.
try to wind this up because we don't want to go past the hour. And we're coming right up on the hour right now, about 30 seconds. So a minute and 20 seconds left on this hour. You've talked about those strategies where you could do pick up, put your tables outside, create a little bit of an experience for the customer, allow them to have their beer out there on your premises. We've had people react to that, Mayor. I can tell you that we've had people from your call on Tuesday get in touch with me about ways that they might be able to convert their parking areas into outside dining. And so that's something that was an idea that you had that you feel, could be helpful to you, right?
Yes, and I believe our Newport City Council is very supportive of that. I've only spoken to a few of them. I know our Newport City manager is extremely supportive of that, where he said, take part of your parking lot, put tables out there. Let's get this thing going, but let's do it in a responsible manner.
So Mayor, what we're going to do is Christine was a yoga studio. We're going to have you back on Tuesday. So hopefully we have the technology up and give you a little bit more time to talk. But we're going to cut it off now. But I want to just give Mark, Mark, you all set, or you have any closing comment that you want to make?
No, I'm all set,
Great.
Governor.
Thank you so much, Mark. Matt, yourself, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll stop. Yeah, for Matt and the whole DLT office, you're hearing, and I'm getting, which this is, we've reached more people on this platform right now than we have on the calls. We're going to make sure that we keep the couple hundred businesses that have been involved in the calls active on this, but we got to expand that out to our, the people who live in the state that support our small businesses. I want to thank everybody who's listened in. We're going to do this again on Tuesday at noontime. We also have a program Wednesday at 7:00, and we'll be back on Friday as well. But this is part of the reopening strategy that we need to, keep on plugging. Christine, we missed you here, but we're going to have you on Tuesday. Unfortunately, we didn't get it all in for some reason, but we're going to have you back on Tuesday, and we'll start with, you'll be the first business person that can speak on Tuesday. But say hello to everybody. Anyways, Christine, can you, is your mic open? No, we're still having a little bit of
Christine, can you hear us?
We will,
Christine?
We will have, we'll have Christine back on Tuesday along with Richard. And I want to just thank everybody for getting involved with this. And where we can help the greenhouses, Mother's Day's coming. Please, let's follow what Massachusetts is doing. We can open up safely, and we also can do business and help these these businesses stay in business. We don't want anybody to lose their house. We don't want anybody to get kicked out of an apartment. We don't want anybody to not have food on the table. We don't want any small business that was viable and operating before this health crisis not to be operating after this health crisis. I think we all can agree on that, but we need to make sure we're listening to our small businesses. Thank you so much. The health is our top priority. Let's follow what the governor's talking about with her staff. Let's follow what Dr. Scott and the health department's talking about. But also let's start really working hard to figure out ways to open our businesses and make them safe and open up the economy. Thank you so much for everybody being there. We'll be back on Tuesday. And 222-2371, contact our office. I'm getting a lot of emails right now. We'll get back to you in terms of your questions out there relative to the businesses or anything that's going on with the state of Rhode Island that's impacting you or your family. Thank you so much. Stay safe.